Hello, everyone. I hope all of us are well and are preparing for our civil services examination. As we have started with the strategy by which we can not just understand in time saving manner the articles that comes up in Yojana and Kurukshetra, but also the important information that gives us the support to precisely focus on some of the important interrelated concepts or some of the important interrelated mechanisms that has got its relevance with geography and geographical study. Today, I am taking the article from Yojana, June 2020, which talks about migration and economic development. Now, when we take the present times of the pandemic, we are aware of the fact that there is a return migration that we are experiencing. It is interestingly a different phase altogether when we consider it from the perspective of conventional concepts on migration, or when we take the examples of real time migratory trends all over the world. Normally, whenever we talk about migration on economic front, we identify it to be the push factor from the source area and the pull factor to the destination. Essentially, in terms of economic development, we take rural urban migration as the most important type of migration. But what we are now noticing in the altogether unprecedented change in the migratory trend is the returning back of migrants because of the push factor that has evolved in the so called destination. And when I say so called destination, I'm essentially talking about the pandemic, the lockdown, which has resulted into the informal sector people precisely reeling under immense economic crisis, finds it easier to travel thousands of kilometers on foot rather than staying back. So in such type of conditions, new concepts comes into forefront, and that is what we have to handle. So I'll be taking the article as well as some supportive study material, the PDF of which I'll be uploading with this. So you can take the reference of it. And important references of 2011 census that has given us the base to understand the present migrant crisis that we are experiencing in the country. So not wasting much time, let us get to the study of economic development and migration. So here it is, migration and economic growth. The migration crisis that we are experiencing right now is basically correlated to the absolutely unseen example for nearly more than a century. So it has to be considered from a different perspective altogether, and you must keep an eye on it. So if I take the first paragraph of this write up, it is essentially talking about the social distancing norms, as you can see it here, and keep home, lockdown, which actually has created an important economic challenge. Economic challenge that comes up from the perspective of people that have been engaged in informal sector. Now we all can understand that the people who are engaged in informal sector can be the resident of that given settlement. But this particular article is all about migration. So we are focusing on migrants only as our case. And if I take that into reference, what I notice as a highlighting point here, the challenge and the opportunity, this paragraph right here we have got Harris and Torado model. Now, this basically is the key point that I take out from this particular article in my preparation of a very standard topic of geography, that is migration, one of the demographic variables. So, first we try to understand what are the major characteristics of this model and how it is relevant, or for that matter, irrelevant in the present scenario. So, going to that right up. Now, in migration geography, the concepts or the theories that we normally take into account includes Revestein, laws of migration, Zipf's inverse distance law, Stouffer's theory of intervening opportunities, Evert Lee's model on migration, and of course, Zelensky's. Mobility transition model. Now, essentially speaking, we are not talking about any of these models in the reference of this present article. What is the reason? Reason is that this article is talking about one of the socio-economic reference of a model which is largely utilized not by we geographers, it is largely utilized by economists in analyzing the movement of people essentially from rural area to urban area. So I'm talking about Harris and Todaro model on migration. Now, Yojana write-up gives me this model. It mentions this model in the beginning of the write-up and towards the end. I'll take you there. But the first and the foremost thing is that I must create a necessity for me that this model is there in my information list. So let's just try to understand this model. Right. So if we take the reference of Harris-Todaro model, which has been mentioned in the article that we have just taken the reference to. The model was originally proposed in 1969 by Todaro, and this model is proposed for determination of equilibrium in the simple economy constituting two sectors. So the first thing that I have to pick up with this model is that it talks about sectoral economy, and the sectoral economy includes rural and urban sector. This model is giving us certain understanding to develop the concept. Which are these? So I've listed it. As I've always insisted in the answer writing, there can be points which are seemingly overlapping. But until unless you chart them out separately, you are actually not creating a logical answer sequence for you. So it's always advisable to get into dimension creation. That is the reason I have charted out 4 important points according to this model, what we believe in. Number 1, there will be continuous migration of labor from rural economy to urban economy. Now, why there will be a continuous transfer, continuous movement of labor from rural to urban economy? Because whenever we take the nature of activity that urban areas provides, all the activities proves to be higher in its remuneration compared to rural counterpart, because it is more remunerative, it is more attractive, and that attraction can actually be real or can be perception. Then I take point number 2. The model also recognizes that the increase in labor demand in urban sector is exogenously determined variable, whereas increase in labor supply through migration, which is the function of difference in expected income flow from urban and rural sector, is an endogenously determined variable. Be very cautious with this point. It talks about two variables. What are the two variables? What is the reason that rural migration to urban areas will be near uninterrupted? So I have got one external factor. The term applied here is exogenous factor. Exogenous factor is increasing demand in urban area. But why I decide to migrate? I decide to migrate because I believe in, because I feel, because I outline that I will be having better wage possibility for me in urban areas compared to where I'm residing right now. So point here is that I have got one endogenic determiner. Endogenic determiner, that is, I'll be presuming that I'll be earning better if I go to urban area. And two is that urban areas are providing me with the higher job prospects. So both these factors are taken into consideration. Variables. Number three, in the steady state, migration into the cities ensured that urban labor supply should increase at the same rate as urban labor demand. As on how the urban labor demand is on rise, there will be increase in supply of urban labor, and thus there is a constant equilibrium that will be maintained in urban area. So the constant equilibrium level of city unemployment rate could be determined. So this is another important set of assumption that has been applied in this model. And finally, but in certain conditions, this link between migration and urban unemployment gives rise to Todaro paradox, that is, increasing job opportunities in urban sector can further fuel urban unemployment through induced migration. There can be a detrimental effect to it also. What is the detrimental effect? That if there is more increase, if there is the link between migration and unemployment is to be assessed. So it is like unemployment can multiply because of the excessive influx of the migrant or untamed influx of the migrants. So according to the model, these 4 points are ascertained as the basis. It takes migration in the reference of two defined sectors of economy, number one, and number two variables that tends to decide migratory decisions. It is likely to create an equilibrium, but can also generate increasing levels of urban unemployment. So this is part one of the HT model that we are talking about. Now, if I ask you to see the key assumptions taken into this model, what are the assumptions on which the model is being developed? Again, there are 4 points which are very important for us to refer, that rural and urban marginal products of labor both are decreasing function of the respective employment level. The rural production function includes fixed land capital and urban production function includes fixed capital, leading to diminishing marginal returns to the labor. So the model says that both in rural and urban area, there is a very decreasing kind of employment relation. With the changing time, there will be continuous decrease in the employment possibilities because of the fixed land capital. And when we talk about the equation of job creations with the reference of this automatically will create a diminishing return kind of a factor. So assumption one is talking about diminishing output. The second assumption says producer in both the rural and urban sector act in a competitive manner, equating marginal product and real wage in equilibrium. They act in a competitive manner, and this competitive manner by default comes with somewhere interdependence that we see between rural and urban areas. The third factor is rural urban migration continues as long as expected urban real wage exceeds the rural real wage at margin. Urban wage, if is more than rural wage, migration will continue. Whether I'm talking about the real wage or expected, they are more emphasizing on expected wage. And what is the another assumption? Assumption number 4, and it is the most important assumption actually, the rural migration migrants. I repeat it, the rural migrants gamble or queue for formal urban jobs. accepting unemployment or underemployment in informal sector in the hope of being absorbed in formal sector. What you need to understand is that I, as a job seeker, have moved from urban area, from rural area to urban area. If I have moved there, I precisely queue up among the job seekers. And because I need to sustain me and my family, I can essentially be engaged into informal sector or less paying jobs. This is the point that marks up its perfect validity when it comes to the economic vulnerability that we have noticed of our migrant population in the present pandemic. Because I was engaged in ad hoc kind of a job, because I was engaged in informal job, because there was lockdown and the earning possibilities were precisely paused, I found it more convenient for me to move thousands of kilometers on my foot to reach at my place of origin rather than sustaining myself in the destination or urban area. So the vulnerability that we talk about, I surely want to write this term here. The economic vulnerability that we talk about today is essentially highlighting this point of assumption, because expectation of income and real job prospect are not in balance. So we queue up to get into formal job, and in the time being we are engaged in minor categories of jobs somewhere to sustain ourselves. Before I take you to Yojana, I have added this spiral diagram here, which talks about process of rural urban migration. Excellent compatibility to the HT model that we are talking about here. It's a spiral. And what this spiral is all about. So I begin with step number one. The step number one reads surplus labor transfer from rural to urban area. So there is consistent increasing labor transfer from rural to urban area. What it leads to? It leads to our step number two, and what is that? Increase in urban employment. So there is increase in urban employment because of this continuous increase in the workforce moving from rural to urban area. This tends to create another spiral effect, number three. And what is this number three? There will be increase in capital accumulation. More quality workforce, more accumulation. We do study it in the growth pole and growth center concept, spillover, trickle down effect. That is number three. And this will pave way to our step number four. And what is step number four is talking about increased growth rate of modern sector. So I'll be increasing the growth rate of modern new sectors, new avenues of functioning, which was earlier not taken into consideration or were not taken to be economically feasible under the conditions of lesser employment or lesser share of investment possibility. And that will pave way to our fifth and the final slot in the spiral effect, that is increase in the rate of new job creation. So increase in new job creation. By default, it will lead to surplus labor transfer from rural to urban areas. So whenever we talk about the informal sector employment, it is the ad hoc nature of employment that surely tends to create economic vulnerability. But the movement of population workforce from rural to urban area tends to generate a spiral, and that spiral has got all positive feedback. Feedback is cause and effect relation. This is a positive thing. I should not take it as a detrimental thing. I'm taking you back to Yojana. Harris and Todaro model of migration shows how rural agricultural worker decide to migrate to urban industrial space when the expected wage rate in the urban industrial sector is slightly higher than their present wages in rural sector. Point number one. Number two, the expected wage is the ratio of present urban wage rate and the chance of finding a job. That is, the expected wage is the ratio of present urban wage. What is the present urban wage and what is my chance of finding a remunerative job? So this is the basics that we have learned of Harris and Todaro's model. Continuation of it, the later, that is the possibility of attaining the job. The later being the ratio of number of jobs available and the total number of aspirants, which includes those living in urban sector and the new migrants. Let us take it as our point number three, that how much of the wage that I'll be earning is determined by what is the job prospect, and what is the job availability will be determined by what is the total number of aspirants that is by default done there. Job prospects will be higher when the job seekers are less. And naturally, point number four, if the chance of finding a job is poor, the expected wage is low and the decision to migration is put off. So if I have to decide to migrate because of expected wage, if I'm not getting the expected wage, I possibly will not migrate. But that is not the only thing. So comes in a star mark statement. What plays an important role in changing this calculation is the presence of a kin or a community member in the urban sector. Very important aspect. Availability of such support induces migration, which is a rational personal choice, by providing at least an initial base to the new migrant. I have got any of my known person, my family member, my friend in urban area, and I do take a rationality of possibility of wage, which is not doing on a conducive front, and I'm still in a mire whether I should migrate or not. But because there is a initial support that I can expect getting to the urban area, I surely can decide to migrate. And while every migrant may dream of secure job in formal sector, as more migrant flow in, they are compelled to settle in the unorganized or informal sector. And again, very important statement. In fact, even their host may be earning their livelihood out of informal sector. This is the base of the present pandemic. Related vulnerability of migrants. You can straightforward derive out a question here. What is the question? Migration crisis that we are experiencing right now in the country has got its foundation of the pandemic that we are experiencing. And the question that we can attempt to answer here is, judge the validity of HT model, that is Harris and Todaro's model, in the migration decisions in the present pandemic. This is how the content is derived out. You don't read out an article, you try to derive out what are the hidden information that I generally don't emphasize much on while preparing. What we have learned so far. The HT model gives us easy 4-point factors that we can talk about. Migration initiated by some rational expectation after calculating economic benefit cost and psychological factors. Migration decision depends on expected gains rather than actual gains. The probability of getting an urban job is inversely related to urban unemployment rate, because higher the urban unemployment rate, lesser will be the probability for me to find a job. But if I have got initial support system, I still can migrate. And migration rate in excess of urban job growth rate are not only possible but also a rational situation due to huge wage differentials between the two sectors. The higher rate of urban unemployment are the result of imbalance in opportunity between rural and urban sector. That is, rural areas always will project lesser economic benefits compared to urban areas. And the model essentially talks about the detrimental effect that we see with migration. So, migratory decisions or migration in totality makes an example of detrimental decision taken. Is that the case? No, it is not. And that is the reason in the write up I have included certain important points about where I judge the validity, in sense that do I find this model to be absolutely valid in context of a general analysis of the model. So see these points here in both geographic and economic perspective. We criticize the HT model on certain basis, and I have charted out the points of criticism very clearly, quickly taking them. Criticism point number one, it has taken urban wage as fixed at a point higher than the marginal productivity. But we need to know that we are in the competitive environment, and in the competitive environment, we cannot have artificially high fixed income. It's always fluctuating. So this becomes unreal. Criticism number two, it took no external factor, whereas urban manufacturing sector is full of external components where agglomeration, scale, or knowledge are important. To understand this point of criticism, take example of any industry. Say I'm talking about cotton textile industry. So I as urban center has my basic function as cotton textile weaving. Will I be doing it on my own? Do I require cotton yarn coming from rural area and possibly rural dwellers consuming cotton textile that I produce? It's very clear. So there are certain external factors which is not considered in this model. Number three, it completely ignores transportation cost and psychological cost. Because whenever there is a migratory decision, it cannot be only economic, whether I'll be getting better job or not, or more wage or not. I can have transportation cost as a big barrier. It is too expensive and I cannot migrate. Or will I be adjusting to the urban type of living because I'm more prone to or I'm more habitual to the rural setup of living? That is also important consideration. Point number five, it took the assumption of closed economy. It is actually overlapping with what we have taken in point number two. And again repeating, this is the important aspect that we need to grab, that there are always the points which gets interwoven to each other. More I create this bullet point information, more I create dimension. When I say that nothing is only internal, there are many external factor. Point number two, I'm actually talking about the same in the closed economy. It is nowhere we have closed economy, everywhere we have got interdependence relation, and that cannot be ruled out. So international trade plays very important role in search of new markets. Point number five, this model in general talks about partial equilibrium only in urban sector. It is really not concerned about what is happening in rural sector. Is rural sector a passive constituent of an economy? Certainly not. Rural areas incorporate significant active participation in economic growth, and that has to be considered, which is missing. Point number six, while framing the whole model, no government interference was considered. Because whenever we talk about rural urban migration, there is always the planning. Demographic planning takes into consideration the migratory decisions and regulation of migration. Because we all need to understand that migration is one of the prominent challenge as well as opportunity in any given location. So government interference is always there, which is not given consideration. Number seven, it ignored many factors and possibilities like return of migration, heterogeneity in migrated labor, better job prospects in informal economy, possibilities of job search in urban areas. when we talk about return migration, normally it is like when we learn one of the conventional theories on migration, Revestine. Revestine in one of the laws have said that every major migratory movement will have weak and opposite counter migration. This is not considered in HT model, number one. And number two, the kind of migration that we are experiencing now, this return migration in contemporary terms is migration crisis. And mind it, it is not about migration crisis from urban to rural area. It is migration crisis from any of more remunerative region. We are having migrants coming back to India from all over the world. Vande Bharat mission is actually on evacuation of different type of Indian nationals in different countries, majorly including the workforce. And which type of workforce? Those who were engaged in informal sector, and that is the reason the ad hoc nature of their job have made them economically vulnerable in the other country. So this is very important aspect which is hidden. Only in order to enhance the content matter, when you read about this model, I have also added dimensions of limitations or criticism in sector specific factors. So I'm just quickly taking the reference of it. Limitations in sector specific factor like rural economy. When I talk about rural economy, we need to understand that development is dual, that rural areas not necessarily will always induce the push factor. It is completely silent about what is happening in rural areas is a very prominent point of criticism. It is only talking about what is expected wage, and thereby I decide to migrate. And that is the reason I mentioned two scholars, Louise and Rennies. They have actually given us the contribution on rural segment of the study, which is quite important. I've added these points, you can easily have a read. Criticism in terms of urban economy. Because when we talk about urban economies is only and only getting negative impact from the rural migration, it's wrong. Rural urban migration negatively impact urban job sector? No, we all are aware of the fact. Positive impact, we call it agglomeration economy. All the terms that we study in settlement geography, conurbation, the outgrowth, the suburban settlement, the satellite town, are they not generating the facilitative growth of urban areas? So it's very wrong for me to believe that urban areas are only bearing the heat and negative impact on migration. So this is also very important point of limitations, and I've added points that you must take into it. The sector specific migrant behavior I have also taken into account. Anticipation of expected gains only. Migrants can decide to diversify their means of earning rather than only getting on to I want to have a better wage, not necessarily. So there can be big variation. I have actually believed migrant behavior to be static. Fact is, migrant behavior is not just dynamic, but it is also diverse. I, as an individual, can decide to have migratory decision because of expected higher wages, as the model says. But you, as a migrant, can decide it on the basis of diversifying your income source. So, migratory decision is not with the static migrant behavior. This is also very important aspect that now, in order to understand the migratory movements and specifications in context of India, I want to take reference of which has given us such some unique observations, and these unique observations again gives us certain points of validity and certain points of limitations of HT model. So in terms of census, because we are talking about migration and rural urban migration, so I have selected this as example. So the top 6 urban agglomeration have approximately 40% of total population as migrant population. Approximately. I'm enlarging it now. Hyderabad, top 6 urban agglomeration, approximately accounting for 21% of the total urban population of our country, is having more than 40%, will not be including Kolkata. So approximately 40% plus of their total population as immigrant population. That means there has been urban centric migration. Agreed. Observation number next. Of new migrants, 81% is from urban areas. HT model do not apply this. Only exception is there. So the exceptional cases includes Delhi and Bengaluru, because in these two megacities maximum migration have been rural urban. So I see validity of Harris and Todaro's model here. And the third point observation, which is unique and cannot be applied to the model directly, is that for the first time, and that is the reason I want you to emphasize on these names, and this is the reason we have taken them in the sequence. For the first time, major migration have been seen south of Vindhya. Because we have already taken into account this north-south divide that has been in our country, that we don't have cultural compatibility, there is geographical distance that is involved between the population surplus area and the economic opportunity area, but that is all changed. And to further make sense with it, see this map that I have included. The migrant hotspot majorly includes Maharashtra, Bengaluru, the Silicon Valley. You can also notice it to be related to Gujarat, southern Gujarat, where I'm essentially talking about Surat, Bharuch. Notice these patches. Surat, Bharuch area, it's Mumbai, Thane, Pune, Silicon Valley, Bengaluru. I don't see any such big patch with the migrant population migrating for economic causes of 1 million plus anywhere else in the country. Because all these patches of Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, or for that matter in Chhattisgarh or in Delhi, Rajasthan, because we have got Jaipur, Delhi and Ludhiana as very important centers in Northwest. They all are falling into a minor category. It is comparatively lesser category. And if we try to take reference of sub-Himalayan West Bengal, it's very important area where we are taking the migratory movements. These are migration hotspots of our country. Southern Tamil Nadu, you can notice the area here. So Coimbatore, Madurai, Tiruchirappalli. We also have got coastal Andhra with Telangana, Odisha, I have already marked it. So the migratory movement is essentially related to these hotspots, and these hotspots combines urban migration more than rural urban migration. So automatically the things becomes not absolutely valid. Going to Yojana. Now, Yojana is essentially talking about an opportunity of social dialogue, which basically is talking about what are the opportunities that I see, what are the possibilities that I see in this present crisis. Now, the term that is mentioned here, it is phenomenal task to settle millions of workers and their required effective collaboration for many interest groups. And that is the reason the first thing that we need to do to convert possibility out of crisis is that we have to, in phase, ensure the return in planned manner by incorporating NGOs and encourage them to participate in the safe return of migrants to their respective destinations. This is one thing that is being talked about. The other thing that is being talked about is similar collaboration could bring about significant benefits if deployed in the process of initiating a new economic activity by returned migrant, which requires creation of database. Who is returning? And if is returning, is this return permanent? Is this return temporary? Precisely, the returning back migrants will not be in the position of answering this question now. But we have to believe that until and unless we are ensuring economic subsumption of these returning migrants, we are not going to have an apt and overview or over absolutely overlapping holistic approach of planning towards migrant crisis. And that is the reason when we talk about this, that the untapped opportunities, if is required to be tapped to ensure gainful economic engagement of returned migrants. Uttar Pradesh state government have started skill mapping of migrants. So this is something that is one of the positive aspects that we are taking. So it is the attempt of integrating the people who are returning back. So it is integration. Integration by default will generate a win-win combination for the people who are coming back as well as the state which is receiving them, because surely they will experience a demographic boom, but then they are also getting the workforce to them. So it is very important thing altogether. So Uttar Pradesh state government taking the constitution of migrant commission to generate this skill mapping of migrant is a very important thing that we can take up. Yojana also reads, will it make the urban labor market so tight as to roll out better terms of employment in times to come? Restarting the process of migration with more decent working and living conditions. Bargain will start. Because if the areas where migrants are moving back is having the problem of subsuming it, minded urban areas will experience scarcity of workforce, and scarcity of workforce will be correlated very clearly to, so if demand is more than supply, then automatically there will be increase in the wage requirement. So there will be an impact in urban areas also, not just in terms of labor scarcity, but also there might be a Ricardo effect, which is employer may opt for labor saving technology in response to upward movement in the wage rate. Understand it like it's the economic concepts, so not taking you much to the details in the most minimal possible manner. Ricardo Barrow effect is all about substitution. That is substitution between labor and capital. That is, if labor scarcity evolves, there will be substitution by capital, and vice versa. So if this present pandemic is increasing return migration, it can generate Ricardo-Barrow effect on urban economy. This is something very important for you to take into your understanding. Possible questions that you can take from this perspective. HT model relevance. In present scenario. Relevance of migration theories in present context. Explain migrant crisis and outline possible solutions. List the challenges that both rural and urban areas can experience due to the pandemic. Migration. You need to create out this kind of overlap, which is very, very important. I hope with this second video, you are coming at par with comprehending what is the best way you can take the content from Yojana. Because Yojana and Kurukshetra don't give me the standard textbook support that I need to take paragraph by paragraph into my content building. But any important information that is coming up from these articles have to be integrated with what I already study. So it's all about integrating conventional, static part and the dynamic part. And dynamic part is excellently provided to us in the ready-made form from Yojana and Kurukshetra. So take the note of PDF which is attached with it. Happy learning and goodbye for this.